why are we so driven to put things in our bodies that change the way we think, feel, and act? And why do we vilify some drugs while accepting and promoting others? With us is Carl Hart. He's a neuroscientist and professor of psychiatry at Columbia University. He's also the author of High Price, a neuroscientist's journey of self-discovery that challenges everything you know about drugs and society. Welcome, Carl.
Thank you for having me.
So, Carl, so many drugs, so many choices, but so much hypocrisy. Why?
Why is there so much hypocrisy? That's a great question. I mean, it all depends on what drug you're talking about. So drugs, they serve as great scapegoats in order to not deal with some of the problems that society might face. So when we think about the drugs that have been most vilified in our society, they've been vilified, not, as you all nicely point out, not because of the pharmacology, because as you stated, caffeine, nicotine, all of those things are drugs, and they have similar effects on the brain and so forth. But some like heroin, methamphetamine, cocaine, those drugs have been vilified in part because of the people who are considered to be the users, people who the society don't necessarily like. This goes back to the early 1900s, and it continues today.
No, it really does. And they had a ranking graph of the most dangerous drugs, the most dangerous being alcohol, heroin, crack, and meth for the top four. The bottom four, ecstasy, LSD, and then some other opiate I couldn't pronounce.
Yeah, so you have to be careful when people make these rankings. So alcohol is at the top primarily because alcohol is the only one of those drugs that people can die from alcohol withdrawal. I mean, but beyond that, alcohol can be used relatively safely. I mean, when you think about moderate alcohol use, like most people who use alcohol, there are beneficial effects associated with that. Decreased heart disease, decreased strokes, all these sorts of things. And then when you think about these other drugs, heroin, methamphetamine, particularly when we think about Adderall, there are a number of people who are benefiting from Adderall, the attention deficit disorder drug. And so it all depends on how and when and why the drug is being used before we can determine whether or not it's harmful or not.
I've seen you talk about how meth and Adderall are basically indistinguishable. What is indistinguishable from methamphetamine, which everyone knows is a terrible drug? It rots your face off.
Yeah, the only difference is that when you look at the basic amphetamine structure, there's a methyl group added for methamphetamine. And that methyl group, it has been said to cause the drug to be more potent, more lipid soluble, crosses the blood-brain barrier more rapidly. And then there were these incredible things said about what that means for human behavior. But when we've done the study and other people have done the studies, they are the same drug. They are essentially the same drug. The effects produced by these drugs are indistinguishable when you look at human behavior.
But you'd never see a mom go into a doctor's office and say, "Can you please put my son on meth? Yeah. He can't concentrate in class."
Yes, but actually that's what moms are saying when they're saying that they want their kid on Adderall. They are in effect saying that, put my kid on meth. By the way, methamphetamine is FDA approved in this country for attention deficit disorder in the pill form. It's the same drug. It's just that the meth that we see on some of these commercials, these public service announcements, they are, you're looking at illicit methamphetamine use made in these clandestine sort of places and taken by people we don't like.
So, Carl,
that's the major problem.
Is there any way to compare and contrast these various drug categories? I mean, obviously, I don't think you're suggesting that cocaine, methamphetamine, and Tylenol are all the same and that we should all feel free to use them at our convenience when we're feeling down.
No, that's a great point. So when we think about acetaminophen and we think about cocaine, what's the difference? It's like acetaminophen, of course, it's not the same as cocaine. Acetaminophen, if you have a headache or something, it would be a lot better for you to take that than cocaine. However, if you have dental pain and you're worried about having dental surgery or something like that, then you want cocaine. You want to put cocaine there because cocaine is a local anesthetic. Novocaine is just a modification of the cocaine structure.
Is that true? I didn't hear. I mean, of course, they sound very similar. They have the same ending. But
so cocaine was the first local anesthetic that we discovered, and we modified the structure to make Novocaine so it doesn't cross the blood-brain barrier. But they're the same drug. So it all depends what you're using these drugs for and how you use it. That's the most important thing. It's just that most people who engage in drug use and the public at large, they're just ignorant about the effects of drugs. But all of these things can be used safely, and they can all be used to enhance human potential.
Okay, so we have hysteria and misinformation. Yes or no question, should all drugs be legal?
No, not currently, because as I just stated, the population is too ignorant. If we increase, like you showed, it was like my classroom, those clips that you showed this is your brain on drugs and so forth. When you have that kind of ignorance in a society about drugs, the society is not ready to use the drugs safely. Now, that's not to say that most people will go and get in trouble with it. I'm more worried about the hysteria that will, the comments that will be attributed to drugs, or the effects that will be attributed to drugs that are not real. So before legalizing, I argue that we need to increase good, realistic, sound education around drugs. In the meantime, I have argued for decriminalizing all drugs.
Interesting.
That is, treat drugs just like we treat traffic violations.
Carl Hart, thank you very much. We're going to see you later in the show, and we're certainly going to talk about drug hysteria.